Number 1. The bar I work in has 3 floors, and a phone on each floor. To get an external line you have to dial 9. If you want to call one of the other floors, you dial 21 for the cellar, 22 for the bar, or 23 for the kitchen. A call from outside the pub rings twice, like a normal phone, you know, ring ring, ring ring. An internal call is one slow ring, pause, slow ring, etc. One night it had been busy as hell, and I had end of week accounting to do in the cellar. I sent the staff home after they'd cleaned up around midnight. I got done at about 3 AM and was on my way up the stairs when the phone rang. I was going through the doors, so I wasn't really paying attention, and it was only when I got to the bar that it dawned on me that it was an internal call, the slow single ring. I picked up the receiver and I swear I could very faintly hear breathing. I hung up and realised that I'd have to go check the kitchen as I'd been downstairs and there clearly wasn't anyone in the bar. I got a broom, the best thing I had to hand, and went upstairs. First I checked the toilets, just in case anyone was hiding out there, and then tried the kitchen. The door was locked. I was so scared. I took out my keys, unlocked the door and pushed it open. It was pitch black. I reached for the light switch and nothing. It was empty. No one but me was in the pub, and I was pretty happy with that. It's happened maybe twice since, and I just pick up the phone and say go away and hang up, but that first time was not fun. Number 2. Before my husband and I were married, we lived together while we were in college. Maybe once a week or so, we'd get a call, often in the middle of the night. As soon as we'd say hello, they'd hang up. This was before cell phones or caller IDs, so we had no idea who it was. And when your phone rings at 2 AM, it is usually something important, so you answer it. If we just picked up the phone, the caller wouldn't hang up, but we could hear a TV or music in the background. Then, as soon as we said something, they'd hang up. He graduated a year ahead of me, and I was living in a different place at school, and I started getting the calls. I also got a couple over the summer when I was at home. Then we got married, got our own place in a different city from where we lived and where we went to college. And the call started again. I got a job back in my hometown, so we moved and the call started again. They started in 1987 and continued into the mid-90s, right around when caller ID started becoming popular. We never figured out who they were from. Number 3. Throughout the summer, after 2nd grade, I received a handful of calls at home from a man. Each time he called, it would be in the daytime when no one was home except me. I would answer and he would creepily laugh, describe what I was wearing and what he would like to do to me. On the last call I answered from him, he deviated from routine. He called at night. My parents went home, but my brother sure was. As the creeper went through his usual routine, I motioned to my brother to take the phone. My brother, thinking it was a telemarketer, wouldn't take it. I made the mistake of speaking out loud to my brother, telling him that there was a bad man on the phone. Caller hung up. My brother heard nothing. As a kid, I was pretty shaken up. I would lock all the doors, isolate myself in the living room, and lower the window blinds whenever I was left home alone. I never let go of the adult's hand whenever we went out. I never told anyone in my family what happened, and I refused to pick up the phone for a while. Number 4. During my junior or senior year of high school, my family went out of town for a weekend, and I was supposed to stay at a friend's house. On that Saturday night, a group of friends and I, knowing that I had an empty house, went there to smoke and pre-game for a party that we were going to. We were hanging out in my kitchen when I got a call on my cell phone from my home phone number. Thinking it was one of my friends messing with me, I glanced around the kitchen, but they were all sitting there talking and drinking beers. "Hello?" I answered, but I got no response, and the call ended a few seconds later. Confused, I explained what happened to my friends, and we all agreed that it was strange. But one of them started to freak out a little bit, suggesting that there was a murderer upstairs and that we needed to leave. The rest of us, trying to calm him down, decided to search the upstairs of my house. We grabbed hockey sticks and baseball bats from my garage and looked in every room, but didn't find anything. We explained to our friend that was freaking out that nobody else was there and that it was just a fluke thing. We started drinking and smoking again, and everything seemed normal, until my cell phone started to ring again. It was from my home phone number, and I showed it to my friends. They went quiet, and I hit the answer key and put it on speaker. The line was silent for about 10 seconds, and then the call ended. At that point, we basically all piled in my car and left. As we were driving through my neighbourhood, my phone started to ring again, and again it was my home phone number. I didn't answer this time though, and just kept driving. I still don't have an explanation for those calls, but it still kind of freaks me out to this day. I suppose there really could have been someone in my house. We didn't exactly look very hard, and we never searched the basement at all. Realistically though, it was probably just my home phone messing up and redialing my cell phone on its own. Number 5. I live in a small town in Canada, so I was allowed to walk home from elementary school and stay home alone with my sister until my parents got home at dinner time from working, starting when I was in the 3rd grade. My sister and I used to always fight over who got to use the computer we shared, because we both loved to play Sims. My sister almost always won, because she is 2 years older than me and I wanted her to like me. That meant that I was always in charge of answering the phone because I was always closer. We were allowed to answer the phone, but we always had to say our parents were busy. We could never tell them that we were home alone. I used to sit on the back of my couch to read in the afternoons when I got home from school, in front of a big bay window in my living room, looking out on the court that I lived on, because it was always warm from the sun. There was a cordless phone that was in the living room too, so I used to just set it on the couch beside me, because one of my parents usually called at some point to check up on us and make sure we'd had a snack when we'd gotten home, and that we were getting along. For about 3 weeks when I was in the 4th grade, and my sister and I had been staying on our own for a while, a man used to drive up in his car and park at the end of the court. He would then turn and face our house and pull out his cell phone. Our house phone would always start ringing a few seconds later, like it had taken a few seconds for the call to connect. I always picked it up and said, "Hello?" And there would just be silence on the other end for a minute, before the caller hung up. The man on the road would always drop his phone from his ear at the same time and get back into his car and leave. I didn't tell my parents about it for a few months, assuming that it wasn't anything important. Until I had my friends over for a New Year's party and my mum heard me telling my friends when we were telling each other scary stories. My family thinks now that he was calling our house when the driveway was empty to see if anyone was home so that he could break in. My mum likes to joke that it's a good thing I've always sounded very adult on the phone, or my sister and I could have been in some serious trouble. Thanks, Mum. Weirdo that likes to phone people's houses while staring at them. Let's not meet for real. Number 6. It was about 2 a.m. I was sleeping in the lounge room when my phone rang. It was a call from an unknown number. I answered, and for a few seconds, all I could hear was static and quiet whispering in the background, until a man's voice came over the phone and said my name. I asked, "Who is this?" But they just kept repeating my name. So I hung up. A few minutes later, just as I was about to fall asleep again, my phone rings. Once again, it was an unknown number, and I answered. I heard the same static from before, but there were no voices in the background this time. For a few seconds, I'm just listening to the static, until I hear my name again, from the same voice as before. I asked who it was, but there was no reply. I could hear them breathing on the other end. I hung up again. A few minutes after the last call, my phone rings again. Unknown number. I let it ring until they hung up. The same thing happened 4 more times. They would ring, I wouldn't answer. They called one last time and I answered the phone. "Who is this?" The same voice said,
"It's Tim. Come play."
I knew one boy by that name, but I knew for sure that it wasn't him. I got off the couch and went to my front door. There was nobody outside, and I never heard from them again. Number 7. I got a call once from a girl who said she was lost at the airport. It was a wrong number and she meant to call her parents' house. I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, because it was a long time ago. She told me the number she meant to call and said she didn't have any more quarters and that she wanted me to call her parents to tell them that she was lost at the airport. I told her to call collect, and she said that her parents were poor, so she didn't want to charge them. I argued that it's an important enough situation that they would be okay with it, but she insisted a lot, and she refused to call home. I don't remember how long we talked. I was really young at this point too. I don't remember how old I was, but thinking back on it, the obvious thing to do would be to get her name, find out where she was exactly, contact police or airport security, stuff like that. But I guess I was young enough to not realise what I should do. Anyway, I ended up calling her parents and telling them that their daughter was lost at the airport. The mum picked up the phone, and when I told her, She sort of yelled out and sounded really sad. I didn't really know what to do. After the mother was yelling and crying a bit, I think she said thanks and one of us hung up. I don't remember if it was me or them. For a while I thought it was a weird prank call, mostly because we didn't spend more time exchanging information and planning on what to do. But I don't really know. If I got a similar call now, or even a few years after then, I think the situation would be solved pretty easily. But I guess I was pretty young and didn't take much responsibility. I never heard from the girl or the parents again. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. I decided to go on more of a theme rather than just the normal Let's Not Meet stories. If you have any suggestions for any other themes that you would like me to narrate, please leave a comment down below or send me an email. My email is in the description box below as always. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. There will be more videos up very soon. As always, stay sinister.